second time to try to be elected as a Clarkstown Town Justice.
Thank you all for inviting us. I'm going to move away from that because I know it's going to blind me, so you'll have to film
If you
the
want
same.
to shut it down.
5 minutes is an eternity. Normally we get 3 minutes at these points, so I have an extra 2 minutes to go on and on. As mentioned, my name is Dan Weisberg. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I'm a kid from Midwood. Growing up, I was involved in a lot of things back home, dropped out of high school in my junior year, and hopefully somebody in this room at this point is going, this guy wants to be a judge and dropped out of high school. That doesn't sound like the right track we want to go. Suffice it to say that I did resurrect myself. I went into the military. I served in Alaska and West Point in the Army. I was a military policeman. And upon getting out of the military, I spent the better part of my life working in law enforcement. During that time, I also went back to school, graduated college. I went to John Jay, graduated summa cum laude. I went to Pace University for law school, graduated with honors from that. I was on the Environmental Law Review. I had written an article for the Law Review that was published. So academically, I did all the trial competitions. I did all the things that you would expect to do going through law school. I did that while raising a family and while working as a police officer. I've worked as a police officer in a lot of jurisdictions, most notably 6.5 years in New York City and the last 25 in Clarkstown. I know some people, especially within this group, might have some mixed feelings about the Clarkstown Police Department, but from my perspective, I think it's one of the best organizations around, and again, I've had an opportunity to interact with a lot of police departments. What makes me think that I can become a judge? The last time that myself and Mr. Thorson got to speak, he stated that this was his dream job to be a Clarkstown judge. And my response is, I didn't even know Clarkstown existed until 1980. Growing up in Brooklyn, my dream was to become a cop. I used to play with my little Matchbox cars and, pretend that I was in chases and seeing the cops and always going, oh, those guys know what's going on. They know all the secrets. What's happening when they're all gathered at a call. So that's what led me into my call. But since I've gone to law school, when I got out, I practiced for a while with a firm, Barr and Rosenbaum, which then became Barr and Haas, and got involved. But really my passion was sharing my knowledge. So since 1999, I've been teaching police officers both in Clarkstown and Rockland County Police Academy various legal topics. And to me, it's very important that the police officers understand the law. Not what they think the law is, but what the law actually says. Because it's one thing to think about it generically that you get taught from books in a course at a police academy. It's another thing to understand what happens, because everything in law gets examined after the fact. Courts have the luxury to look and examine what happens step by step by step, and there's a lot of different rules and procedures that have to be followed. And I spend a lot of time researching that information. The monthly training program that I do involves my doing the research, creating a newsletter for the officers, and then speaking to every group within the police department and bringing that to the police academy as well. So I spend a lot of time keeping current with what's going on, not only criminally but civilly. A lot of the work that the Justice Court does, being the court closest to the people, involves work brought in by police departments, whether it's work from a criminal nature, arrests, or vehicle and traffic cases. So 2/3 or more of the work that the Justice Court does is brought in by police departments. I have the ability to see things from both perspectives. I'm not somebody who just knows the law. I'm somebody who's been living it, been out on the street arbitrating disputes in this town for 25 years. I know what affects people in this town. I know what happens in the various areas. I know what's important. So something that happens on the street in Congress may not be as important as something that happens on the street in Nanuet. They might have different concerns. I'm responsive to that. I understand those needs because I've driven down these streets. I've handled calls on these streets. I may have been to some of your homes, and you'll pardon me if I don't recall having been to your homes, hopefully nobody in this room, but I've seen a lot in the 25 years, and I'm able to take my legal knowledge and my real-time street knowledge, and frankly, my knowledge as being a streetwise kid from Brooklyn, who I still think, when I say kid, you know, I'm 54 years old, but I still think I'm a kid. I'm able to take all of those things, roll them up into a package, and I think I'm uniquely qualified to be able to apply that to the disputes that come before the court. So I'm hoping that, you know, you have two excellent choices. I know Mr. Thorson is going to present himself very well, but I'm hoping at the end of the day, you evaluate our qualifications, go to my website, look up his qualifications. Don't go based upon 5 minutes at a meeting like this. Get to know us, learn what we're about, learn our history, learn our background, and then make an educated decision. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for them?
Do you feel, having the background as being a police officer, that you would have a hard time trying to figure out the right word, not siding with them automatically?
Absolutely not. And you know, last night I had to go for the Bar Association. They hold a judicial screening, and that's certainly one of the topics that comes up, and rightfully so. And my answer to that is twofold. Number one, because of my legal background, you know, we all take oaths as lawyers, and I take oaths that I take very seriously. And the fact that I've been spending a lot of time teaching police officers the law, I expect to hold them to that higher standard. I don't just sign off on things left and right at work. I make sure that I question, I make sure that they do things right. And when they come before me in court, I'm going to expect that as well. I don't have a lot of friends in the police department. I don't go out and drink and socialize. I spend my time, my loves of my life besides my family are karate and tennis. So I'm out doing those things. I'm not out drinking. I don't go out, you know. I did in my younger days, but I don't do that anymore. So from the perspective of somebody who's also an attorney and who teaches them the law, I have no problem and anticipate actually holding them maybe even to a stricter standard than somebody who has not lived the life and knows what's right and what's not right.
Anybody else? Yes.
I don't have a question for both, but as a judge, do you have any kind of discretion in terms of scheduling so that we're dealing with overtime costs in the police department, and the majority, from what I'm hearing, is police and traffic related? Are there things from being a judge that you could do to help change schedules or alleviate the court so that we don't have so much overtime that comes up with prosecutors?
Well, I'll give you my perspective on that. Judge Thorson, who's up there now, will give you perspective firsthand. But I think there's always things that can be done in terms of, you can't change the police officer's schedules, the court doesn't have that power. But you can arrange the cases so that an officer, if he's scheduled to work in the daytime, you can arrange it so that maybe you put 5 or 6 cases together of his, rather than having one case heard this week, another case heard next week. And all of those cases, if they're heard individually, there's a good chance that overtime may be incurred. You also have to remember, though, anytime you schedule court cases, you're taking an officer either from overtime, bringing him in on overtime, or if you're taking somebody that's currently working, somebody has to cover that area while the officer's in court. So, but by consolidating the cases and trying to keep on track of the scheduling, there is a way to at least lessen the likelihood, less times that the officer has to appear in court. You know, I appeared in court just recently, in the last year. Traffic ticket I wrote 21 years ago. Now, I don't know about anybody in this room, but my knowledge only goes so far. And, you know, traffic tickets, by and large, don't leave lasting impressions, certainly not ones for 21 years. And you take notes, but even the notes may not refresh your memory 21 years later. So sometimes things get lost in the shuffle, and we also want to work to make sure that cases get heard fairly expediently so that when they're freshest in everyone's mind, you can dispose of them. If there's punishment to be doled out, dole it out, get it over with so that everyone can move on with their lives.
Anybody else? Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.